I can't say Marco Rubio without thinking Marco Polo. Is anyone else like that? I can't even say Marco without thinking Polo, or in this case, Rubio. In fact, I think that if Marco Rubio does, in fact, end up as Secretary of State, we should change the name of the game. No offense to Marco Polo, but he had his time. I think, Marco Polo, he had a good run. He went to China. He had the whole spaghetti thing. He was very famous. Kids have been yelling Marco Polo for years. But if Marco Rubio pulls this off and he becomes the Secretary of State under Donald Trump for the second administration, I really feel like it's time to change the game. Jump in the pool, cover your eyes, yell out Marco, and everyone else at the different areas around the pool should yell out Rubio. I feel like it's the least we could do. And it would help me because, as I said, that's the number one thing I always think about when I hear Marco Rubio. Listen, we do have information about Donald Trump and his campaign. And his administration. No longer a campaign. We're now transitioning. We're transitioning from campaign to administration because, as you know, Donald Trump won. In fact, Donald Trump didn't just win the White House. He didn't just win the Senate, but yesterday it became official. The Republicans gained the requisite 218 seats for the majority in the House of Representatives. Plus, we have all those constitutional conservatives on the bench. Plus, we've got all these Republican governors running around all 50 states, and not to mention the state legislatures, which are also super conservative, uber red, MAGA for life. M for L for all you OBX fans out there. We are M for L. Now, we do have information about Marco Rubio, and it is not set in stone. Just so you know, the only decisions that Donald Trump has set in stone so far, the only decisions we know are accurately reported and have been solidified by the Trump campaign, have been confirmed by Donald Trump himself, are Susie Wiles, Chief of Staff, Tom Homan, Border Czar, Elise Stefanik, UN Ambassador, and Lee Zeldin, EPA Chief. So those are the only four that we have so far set in stone. But there's a whole bunch of names flying around and a whole bunch of rumors going on about who's going to be serving in the cabinet, who's going to be delivering this bold new future, the new golden age for the United States of America. And we'll get into all those here in just a minute. First, though, couple pieces of breaking news. I don't know if you saw this, but I wanted to share this with you. This is breaking news. Chris Wallace has quit CNN, and he's now looking into a future in streaming. Chris Wallace, you may remember, he left Fox News. He went to CNN. They were supposed to put him on CNN Plus, which lasted like an hour. And then after CNN Plus was a big debacle, what they did was, I guess they put him on various different platforms and they tried to pay him out. But now he's leaving altogether. Why? Because he sees a future in streaming. Think about that. Chris Wallace, who built his entire career on television, realizes CNN is dead. Television is dead. Radio is dead. All the mainstream media is now no longer mainstream. In fact, I was at poker night last night. I did not win, before you ask. But I was at poker night last night. We got into a big conversation about this, and somebody introduced me as alternative media. And I said, you know what? I used to be alternative media. Podcasts, live stream, TikTok, all that stuff used to be alternative media. But after Donald Trump's decisive victory, after Donald Trump made the rounds on all of these podcast platforms and talked to Joe Rogan, we realized that now mainstream or legacy media is kind of the alternative media, because that's not where the majority of American voters go. The majority of American voters go to live streams like this one. They go to podcasts. They go to social media. They bypass CNN and MSNBC and even Fox News to some extent. They bypass radio. Instead, they want the content they want from the people they can get it from, and they want to be able to select it and choose it when they want it, where they want it, how they want it. And that's why Chris Wallace is like, look, I'm going to forget you guys. I'm taking off, and I'm going to go lead the revolution on alternative media. Now, he's 77 years old, so I don't, look, I'm no spring chicken, but at least I have a youthful spirit and a vim and vigor that I feel does, it makes me seem and act and look and talk younger than I actually am. And that is why I want to remind you that instead of going to whatever Chris Wallace has planned, instead of going, because think about this, Chris Wallace, he's still Chris Wallace. He's just going to be Chris Wallace on a podcast. He's going to be Chris Wallace on a live stream. You don't want fake news information from a guy like that. You want real news information from a guy like me. And that is why I launched yesterday, or is it Tuesday? Yeah. It's only been 2 days. I launched our brand new podcast, the 47 Daily Podcast. And this is exactly why we launched the 47 Daily Podcast, because Donald Trump in this election and this campaign proved that podcasting and live streaming is where it's at. You want your information on your schedule. And podcasting is the best way to do it. So every morning we deliver a brand new podcast. For the last 2 days, we've done it. And we've had an amazing response. If I told you how many thousands of people yesterday downloaded the 47 Daily on our very first day of broadcasting, you'd be shocked. You wouldn't actually, because it's a really good podcast. But if you go to iTunes, if you go to Spotify, wherever your podcasts are, you'll find it there. And this podcast, the 47 Daily, is early in the morning. It's short, like 20 minutes, and it's all the information about Donald Trump and the administration. That's it. We don't talk about anything else. We'll get into the stuff. We'll get into the nitty gritty here on Mark K Saves the Republic. But if you want a quick dose every morning of the real news, the real information, the unfiltered, the unpropagandized, the unedited, the just not bogus BS crap that you get from the news sources, then go to the 47 Daily Podcast. The 47 Daily Podcast is all about Donald Trump, all about President Trump's transition. It will be all about President Trump's first 100 days and his next 4 years in the White House. And it's available right now. Also, fun fact, when you subscribe, we have 0 ratings. I mean, we've only been up for 48 hours. So make sure that you leave us a rating. Make sure that you leave us a 5-star review, because that does help us grow and spread the word about what Donald Trump's doing to save America far and wide. The 47 Daily Podcast. And we do a video too. That's also on our YouTube channel. If you're following on YouTube, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, then by all means, make sure that you're joining us for the 47 Daily every single day. If you're on Rumble, we could probably start popping it up there. It's probably a good idea. We'll probably start shoving that thing everywhere. We're just gonna, every time you turn around, there's gonna be me yelling about something. But you know, that's what I think. That's what I think the people want. So I'm going to give it to them. Anyway, hit the subscription button. Make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the notifications. The notification bell is very important. That way, you know, whenever we bring you brand new info. And speaking of brand new info, man, we got some breaking news that I want to drop here on you.
It is 10 a.m. in New York City, and we've got a ruling based on the Associated Press saying this a moment ago. The judge has delayed a ruling on whether or not to dismiss President-elect Donald Trump's criminal conviction. These are 34 counts that came in at the end of May 30th. And the former president's been fighting it ever since. And the judge is going to sentence him prior to the election, then delayed it given the election itself. And so this is the ruling here. Just reading from the AP. A New York State judge has paused proceedings in the already decided criminal case on charges stemming from the hush money paid to a porn star. All right. The document reads, the judge had been set to decide by today whether or not the conviction could be vacated due to the ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court midsummer back in July on presidential immunity. Trump had also been scheduled to be sentenced on November 26. So this now is a whole new ball of wax.
Yeah, look at that. We got a whole new ball of wax. Thank you very much for that, Fox News. Listen, so here's the deal. Donald Trump was supposed to appear in court in just a couple weeks, and he was supposed to be sentenced for the Stormy Daniels hush money case, where he was found guilty on 34 counts of whatever, crap that they came up with, because they were trying to stop him from becoming president. But then it became clear that Donald Trump was, in strong likelihood, going to win the presidency. So Judge Merchan pushed it back. And now that Donald Trump has won the election, now that Donald Trump has won the presidency and is president-elect, well, that's, as they said, a whole new ball of wax. It's a whole different... Man, it just gets trickier and trickier, doesn't it? Also, you throw in there that Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court ruling that stated that Donald Trump, as president of the United States, had this kind of unfettered power, although the argument is this was not during his presidency. It does, you know what? The whole thing is just a big gray cloud. They're not going to put Donald Trump in prison or on house arrest, because he's going to the White House to be the leader of the free world. I imagine this is just them pushing it back and back and back and back right around Thanksgiving, so that people forget about it. And when they throw out these charges and dismiss them, people hopefully won't explode in their faces. People hopefully won't get totally annoyed that Donald Trump is going to go away scot-free. But that's exactly what we expect.
It is 10 a.m. in New York City, and we've got a ruling.
No, thank you.
based on.
Well, that's exactly what we expect to happen. We expect that Donald Trump is going to be. These charges are going to go away. We already know that the federal charges, the DOJ, the Jack Smith charges, those are all going to disappear. They've started winding down. That entire investigation. Jack Smith is packing his bags, packing his purple, weird suit in a box, and he's gonna and his beard trimmer, and he's gonna go find another job somewhere else. But it's not going to be at the Department of Justice, and it's not going to be a special counsel to try to attack and intimidate Donald Trump, a political adversary of Joe Biden. So that's a little breaking news from the Trump front. And then, of course, the other big breaking news today is that even though Donald Trump has not yet taken office, New York City is already great again.
You guys, since Trump was announced the winner, normally, I live on Fordham, and normally on Fordham, all you see is like tables with tents and people just taking the whole sidewalk where you can't even walk. 42nd Street is full of criminals and shit. Since Trump was announced the winner, when I tell you our streets have been clean, our train system have been clean of people, and like you could walk in the sidewalks, like I can't even explain to you the feeling of peace that I feel and safety. Like it just feels so great. Like, thank you to all the people that voted for Trump. Like, this needed to happen.
This needed to happen.
You guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much to all the people who voted for Donald Trump. This needed to happen. We needed Donald Trump. We needed Donald Trump in New York so he could get the tables full of people and the criminals out. We needed Donald Trump so that just him getting and think about this. Donald Trump just got elected. And all of a sudden, we're seeing peace all over the place. We're seeing all these world leaders fall into line. We're seeing prices go down. You're seeing that New York City is starting to clean themselves up. New York City knows that Donald Trump's going to come in. He's already called Kathy Hochul. He said, like, we got to do something. We got to do something about New York City, and I'm here to help you. We're going to revamp Penn Station. We're going to make New York great again. And all of these things are happening even before Donald Trump puts his hand on the Bible and swears the oath of office for a second time. It's just happening, folks. It's just everything's becoming great again. And he hasn't even completed his cabinet. Now, he's made some high profile decisions, and we talked about a couple of those yesterday. One of them was Tom Homan. Tom Homan, former ICE director and just all-around American badass, who's going to go down there. He's going to shut down the border. He's going to start deporting illegals like on day one, a whole lot of them. He doesn't care what the expense is. He doesn't care who gets in his way. He's going to do the job that he's been told he needs to do, and he's going to do it because it's the right thing for the country and because he wants to make America great and safe again. And so Tom Homan, great pick. Elise Stefanik has been chosen. She's been taken out of the Congress as the representative from New York, and she will be the UN ambassador to work with the NATO allies or the other countries in the United Nations and basically let them know we're back. We're not going to be doing this paying for everybody, kowtowing to everybody. You're not going to be able to invade countries without, fearing the wrath of the United States of America. You can't just, it's not going to be one of those free-for-alls the way it's been for the last 4 years. It's going to be a nice, orderly world. And we are going to we're not going to in charge of the world, but we're going to make sure nobody steps out of line. That's for gosh darn sure. And that's going to be Elise Stefanik's role as a UN ambassador. We know now also that Susan Wiles is going to lead as chief of staff of the White House. And again, nobody is upset about that at all. I think even the Democrats like it. The Democrats, their big complaint, they've got a lot of they're such Karens. They whine about everything. But the Democrats, one of their biggest complaints during Donald Trump's first, I almost said his first trimester, during Donald Trump's first administration was that they felt there was chaos in the White House. They felt that the White House was a chaotic environment and nobody was in charge. There were no adults in charge. Donald Trump was just chaotic. People were getting fired left, right, and center. It was craziness. And they didn't realize that Donald Trump thrives in chaos. He sets up a kind of chaotic to the average American politician. But, for most people who've ever worked in an American corporation, you know that a little bit of chaos is good. And sometimes you get amazing ideas out of chaos. And you know that sometimes when people are up against it, that's when they really perform their best. And so Donald Trump, you had that kind of environment. But now Susan Wiles, they believe, is going to be the adult in the room. They believe she's going to keep order. They believe that she's organized and that she will keep things organized. And that's why even the Democrats can't complain about any of these picks so far. And then, of course, yesterday we found out about Lee Zeldin, former New York congressman. He ran for governor against Kathy Hochul. He lost, but in 2022, Lee Zeldin began this momentum shift from blue to red, left to right. And New York State in the election of 2020 had more Republican turnout for the governor's race, for any race really, than they had in a very long time. That's when New York started to shift to the right. And we picked up a lot of seats because of it. There were a lot of congressional seats in New York that had never been held by Republicans, or it had been a while. And we picked those up, and that added to our House majority, which we now maintain because, as I said earlier, we have the 218 requisite votes to control the House of Representatives. So Lee Zeldin is a huge MAGA supporter. He's a huge proponent of conservatism, and he's a hardworking lawyer from New York State. Now, Donald Trump put him in charge of the EPA, not because he's like one of these granola type, oh, got to save the earth type people, but because, and this is the interesting thing to realize about the EPA. At the EPA, it's a government regulatory agency. Their job is they were created to go out there and regulate the HE double hockey sticks out of every industry so that they could protect the leaves and the birds and the I don't know, the praying mantis or what. There's all of these things that they're trying to protect. And in doing so, they made a lot of industries spend excess money that they didn't need to spend. They lowered their incomes or their capital gains, and they've run a lot of businesses just totally out of business because they didn't want to deal with the government regulations. So an agency that regulates things can also deregulate things. And Lee Zeldin was hired, handpicked by Donald Trump to be not a regulator, but a deregulator. So he's going to go into the EPA and he's going to say, all right, let's start cutting back. Let's start letting industry and business grow while still protecting the environment so that our economy can flourish and it can just explode and we can make America great again. So that's it. Those are the 4 actual picks. Those are the picks that have been confirmed by Donald Trump and his administration. Now, there's a bunch of other picks out there. There's a bunch of other names floating around, and they have not yet been confirmed, but we're fairly certain if they are not the actual pick, then they are high on the list. And at the top of that list is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, who is a senator from Florida, has been for a while. Marco Rubio, who ran for president against President Trump in 2016 and lost. Marco Rubio has been a staunch lieutenant in Donald Trump's MAGA army for the past few years. And Marco Rubio, who has been campaigning with Donald Trump all over the country in the last several months. He was in Pennsylvania. In fact, do you remember the last time we saw Donald Trump and Marco Rubio together? Marco Rubio was the guy who ran on stage to tell Donald Trump, Joe Biden just called us all garbage.
All right. Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage.
Yeah, boo, garbage, boo, and then he went on with a very impassioned speech.
He's talking about the Border Patrol. He's talking about nurses. He's talking about teachers. He's talking about everyday Americans who love their country and want to dream big again and support you, Mr. President. And I hope their campaign is about to apologize for what Joe Biden just said. We are not garbage. We are patriots who love America. And thank you for running, Mr. President.
Look at that. So he's brown-nosing like with the best of them. We love you, Mr. President. I mean, we do. We do love him. But we don't all get up on stage and say it. Anyway, that was Marco Rubio. And Marco Rubio is now the top pick, we believe. We believe may actually have been the pick. It just may not have been confirmed or announced by the campaign yet, or by the administration yet, for Secretary of State. Now, a lot of people wonder about Marco Rubio. A lot of people have called him a neocon. I've heard that a lot. A lot of people say that he's not 100% as conservative as we want. A lot of people have scratched their heads going, is Marco Rubio the best choice for Secretary of State? I mean, this is a guy who's got to go around the world and meet with world leaders. He's got to meet with Xi Jinping. He's got to, and his subordinates. He's got to meet with, Vladimir Putin and his subordinates. He's got to go around. He's got to be in charge of the NATO alliances. He's got to be in charge of making the hard decisions and having those meetings with our allies saying, you guys are our allies and you're our friends and we love you, but you've been taking advantage of us. And now I'm slapping your hand out of our back pocket. Stay away from our money. And I don't want to hear it. He's got to have that kind of firm hand with the rest of the world. Is he really the guy for that? Well, we don't know. We're gonna all find out together. But one of the interesting things is that he has a lot of things in common with President Donald Trump. He is not a fan of these endless wars that we know of. He is not a fan of continuing to fund Ukraine, and he hates China. Like he hates China, and he loves Israel, and he hates Hamas. These are all reasons I believe that Donald Trump chose Marco Rubio. His distrust and dislike for China is, it's well known in the government. He has voted repeatedly against more funding for Ukraine, that's a thread, by the way, because if you look at all of these people who have voted against further funding the war in Ukraine, they include Marco Rubio, they include Elise Stefanik, and they include a couple of other people who just got some high-profile positions handed to them by President Trump. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But here's Marco Rubio. I don't know if you've seen this clip. This was him in the hallway, and he was did like an impromptu Q&A, and he got tough on Hamas. Listen to this.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes, and I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas has stopped building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
Make sure you post that, please. He's very, he's got that. He was very tough. He had a tough stance. He had kind of he's got that weird high pitched voice though. It's hard to take him seriously as a tough guy when he's like, I believe Hamas is to blame, and of course I hate that the babies are dying, but please post that. I don't know. It's just a thing with me. I'm sure he's great. And I'm sure that when you're in a room with him, he's got that charisma or whatever that's needed. Because why else would President Trump choose him? And again, it's not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a big table in Mar-a-Lago. He's got a lot of them. And he's there. Susan Wiles is there. I'm sure, Don Jr.'s there. Everybody's there. All of his campaign advisors, everybody. And they're making the decisions. And look, here's the thing. They're looking for loyalty. And Marco Rubio has been loyal. And the thing about Marco Rubio that I actually kind of dig, I like this about Marco Rubio. In 2016, Marco Rubio didn't have a snowball's chance of becoming president. He ran anyway. Everybody ran in 2016. Ted Cruz ran. Jeb Bush ran. That woman that ran Hewlett-Packard ran. Carly Fiorina. All these people that you never even heard of. Rand Paul ran for like a hot minute. Everybody was running for president. It was like the cool thing to do. And as they started to peter away and fall by the wayside, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio continued. And no one thought Marco Rubio had a chance, but he said, I'm going to stay in till Florida. I'm going to stay in till the Florida primary, and we're going to see what happens in Florida. And the Florida primary came around in March of that year, I think. And Marco Rubio, senator from Florida, lost to Donald Trump, who at that point was a resident of New York State. And Marco Rubio came out the next day and said, the people of Florida have spoken. They believe Donald Trump should be president, not me. And so he dropped out of the race and he supported Donald Trump. Now, take a look at somebody like Nikki Haley, for example, who got trounced in South Carolina by Donald Trump, didn't drop out of the race, got trounced in South Carolina, stayed in the race until after Super Tuesday, got trounced in South Carolina, didn't come out and say, well, the people of South Carolina support Donald Trump, so I will support Donald Trump as well. No, she waited. She waited a long time before she threw her support behind Donald Trump. And she didn't campaign for him. She didn't go out and do anything for him. She didn't help him out on she waited for him to call. Marco Rubio jumped up. Marco Rubio has the right idea when it comes to representation. And I'm a big fan of people who know that they're representatives. And Marco Rubio could have hated Donald Trump. He could have become a never Trumper. He could have done one of those, he could have, done one of those, pulled like a Liz Cheney or something. But what he did was he said, no, the people that voted for me voted for Trump for president. So I need to support their decision. The people of Florida want Donald Trump, so I'm the representative of the people of Florida, so I want Donald Trump. And he went to work with Donald Trump, and I respect that. No matter what dumb things he's voted on or what other things he's done that maybe you don't disagree with or you don't agree with him with, he represented the people of Florida when they chose Donald Trump over him. That takes a lot. That takes a big man. I would not be that. I'd be like, you people are stupid. I'd be Liz Cheney. I'd be like, Wyoming? What? No, I represent you, not the other way around. No, I'm just kidding. But Liz Cheney, for example, she was the representative from Wyoming. The people in Wyoming chose her. They also chose Donald Trump. And she said, no, I'm going to vote to impeach Donald Trump. And I'm going to sit on a committee and try to get Donald Trump kicked out of office. I don't care what you people who voted for me to represent you think. And all those people in Wyoming were like, look, lady, we voted for you to represent us, and we want Donald Trump. So if you're fighting against him, we're going to get rid of you. It's exactly what happened. And I think that's one of the reasons why Marco Rubio has been such a popular senator from Florida. So if he is Secretary of State, kudos to him. Now, this is interesting because Florida and New York, really, Donald Trump's two homes, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or if he planned it this way, have a lot of representation in this cabinet. Right? Tom Homan was a police officer, I believe, in New York or Brooklyn or one of those places. Elise Stefanik is from New York. Those were two of his first cabinet picks. Lee Zeldin, also from New York. So you got three New Yorkers there. You've got Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, who is from Florida. Donald Trump, who is from both New York and Florida. And there's another guy who was just chosen as a member of the cabinet, or has not officially been chosen, but we know he will be the National Security Advisor. And that is our good friend of Mark A. Saves the Republic, Congressman Mike Waltz from Florida's 6th District. And Congressman Mike Waltz, if you're unfamiliar with this guy, great guy. He's a Green Beret, former Green Beret. And this has to be the most exciting thing for him. He's a former Green Beret, a veteran, and he found out on Veterans Day that he's going to be National Security Advisor. It's like the greatest Veterans Day gift you could get. But he's been on our show several times. We've had ice cream together. We've hung out together. We talked to him just a couple of weeks ago. But Congressman Mike Waltz is a former Green Beret. He sits on the Armed Forces Committee. He sits on the Intelligence Committee. He sits on all the military committees. He knows foreign affairs. He is also a member of the newly formed committee on presidential assassination attempts to oversee the FBI and keep them in line in their investigations into this onslaught of presidential assassination attempts that we've been experiencing this last year. So Mike Waltz was chosen as National Security Advisor. And I have to tell you, I knew from the get-go that he would be somewhere in Donald Trump's orbit. I thought maybe deputy, or assistant, Homeland Security, or maybe it would be something at the Pentagon. But National Security Advisor is a fantastic role for this guy. This is a man who understands the military top to bottom. He understands the threats to our country. He understands the problems we have with wokeness permeating our military establishments. He understands that China is a massive threat, that Israel is an ally. He understands that Ukraine is a non-starter and something that needs to be ended very quickly. He is another person who in Congress has voted against continued funding of the war in Ukraine. And when we spoke to him 2-3 weeks ago, he just had a new book come out, and he talked about being a Green Beret and how that kind of sets him up for success in his new leadership position.
Green Berets are different in that we specialize in embedding with our allies, whether they be local tribes, partnered militaries, different militias that we specialize in guerrilla warfare, unconventional warfare, gray zone, whatever label you want to put on it. We have to learn the local languages, blend in, and specialize in certain part of the world. And so in that environment, you definitely have a different way of thinking, different way of approaching problems. And I talk to, the reader about engaging with local militias. And some of these warlords would soon turn their guns and kill us as they would the bad guys.
Right.
I don't have any authority over them. I'm in the middle of nowhere with a bag of cash and a rifle. But if I can build those coalitions, what we call buy with and through, and get them to buy into our vision, America's interest, and do the job for us, rather than having 10,000 U.S. boots on the ground, you got 10,000 locals, I can deal with the tribes of Congress.
Now, this is a guy who, keep in mind, as the national security advisor, will be meeting with Donald Trump every single day, bringing him the security report. He's got his daily security briefing. This is a guy who sits on the National Security Council. This is a guy who will work with the Pentagon and Homeland Security. This is a guy who will work. This is a guy, if you have ever met him and sat and talked to him about foreign affairs, military readiness, threats to our nation, he's passionate about it, man. It's like if you got me started on poker and bourbon, it'd be the way he talks about, American national security and neutralizing threats to American sovereignty. It's really fascinating to listen to. He knows his stuff. He's tough as nails, and I think he's going to be a fantastic job. And with these picks so far, I mean, again, if this is the dream team that Donald Trump's putting together, it seems like it's a solid team. I mean, Jake Sullivan's the current national security advisor, and anybody's better than that guy. I don't trust that guy as far as I could throw him. And I probably couldn't throw him that far because he's like 6'9", and I haven't been to the gym. I haven't been to the gym in a while. There's other picks coming out, and I don't want to harp too much on these because, again, they haven't been confirmed. But we know that Stephen Miller will be back as Deputy Chief of Staff in the White House to work and reinstall his immigration policies, which his immigration policies, by the way, I mean, the whole separating the kids from the border and putting them in cages and all that stuff that was blown out of proportion. He was the architect of that. And it was actually a deterrent that worked really well because, as we saw on that chart, the infamous chart that saved Donald Trump's life, it was that the border crossings were down. If you knew that as a parent, you would be separated from your child at the border, that was a deterrent. You'd be like, no thanks, I'll stay in Mexico. No thanks, we'll stay in Venezuela. I don't want to be separated from my kids. I don't want them taken away from me. It's all part of the law enforcement process. And the Democrats used it, they twisted it, and they spun it in a way to make it seem evil and horrific, when really it was a way that was helping not just the people here in the United States from feeling safer and not being overburdened by mass immigration, but also it was keeping the immigrants safer because they weren't going on a dangerous journey with their children because they realized what the consequences would be when they got to the border. So you got Stephen Miller coming back. You've got Kristi Noem. We just heard this morning. I just got a little information this morning before the show that Kristi Noem could be the Homeland Security Secretary. Another good choice. She was in the running for vice president until the media read her book, found out that she shot a dog, and took her to task over it. And I think that was just enough. Stank on her that it took her out of the running for vice president. Not that I'm complaining because I think we got a really good one. So all these names are coming up. All the Kash Patel for CIA director, for example, all good stuff. None of them have been confirmed yet. When they do become confirmed, we'll bring them to you. But that leads us to a couple of other things, because when somebody is chosen and they're taken out of one job, that's great news, but then there's an empty job. And a lot of these jobs are elected positions. For example, Elise Stefanik in New York is now out of the Congress, and there's going to have to be, I believe, a special election in New York for her seat. And not only that, she's no longer the House Conference Chair, which means there's an opening for House Conference Chair, which is the fourth highest position in the House of Representatives for the majority party. This was the Liz Cheney job. Liz Cheney was stripped of her duties as House Conference Chair because nobody trusted her. They had this whole secret ballot thing, and they were like, who's voting? They did it twice. The first time she passed, and the second time they're like, no, we got to get her out of here. And then Elise Stefanik got the job. Now that Elise Stefanik has been elevated to UN ambassador, the job comes open. And I'm very excited that another one of our good friends from Florida, and I'm not trying to tell you that Florida runs the world, but Florida's pretty close to running the world. Our good friend Kat Kamek from Florida's District 3 is in the running and is, I believe, the potential front runner to take Elise Stefanik's position as House Conference Chair. This is from Punchbowl News. The race to succeed Representative Elise Stefanik as House GOP Conference Chair is shaping up to be a competitive contest between a field of mostly women candidates. Stefanik officially withdrew, yada, yada, yada. Several members moved quickly to throw their hats into the ring. GOP reps Kat Kamak, Lisa McLean, and Aaron Huchen from Indiana have all formally declared their running. Representative Blake Moore from Utah is also exploring a bid and began making calls Monday. The GOP conference chair is in charge of party messaging and organizing conference meetings, and with the top 3 House Republicans currently all white men, there's some desire inside the GOP to elect another woman to succeed Stefanik. Now, Kat Kamak is about as MAGA as they come. She worked for Senator Ted Yoho, who it boggles my mind. Senator Ted Yoho, he put self-imposed term limits on his congressional career. Ted Yoho, this is the kind of MAGA, bloodline that Kat Kamak comes from. Ted Yoho said, "I'm going to Congress. I'm going to serve for 8 years, and then I'm going to leave." And Ted Yoho went to Congress, and he served for 8 years, and he was good at his job. He was popular. He would have won again in a landslide, but he said, "Oh, you know what? I made a promise, and I'm going to keep it." And he went away. And Kat Kamak was elevated to his spot by the voters, and she's doing a great job. Very down to earth, comes from, the salt of the earth, middle America. Her husband's a first responder. And we've had the honor of knowing her. And in fact, we were at her victory. I hosted her victory party in 2022 when we got to announce all of these conservatives. Plus, she has her own PAC where she goes out and she helps boost more and more conservatives in the caucus. And we get more and more conservatives because of people like Kat Kamak. So a great choice. If there's any Republican representatives listening to the show right now, this is your woman. But she got a boost from another Floridian, Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds, who a lot of people thought was going to be a vice presidential contender. He also ran for Speaker of the House back when we had that tumultuous Speaker of the House issue going on last year. Byron Donalds also, for a hot minute, wanted to be conference chair, but he withdrew, and he threw his support behind Kat Kamak. Not just because they're buds, not just because they're both from Florida, not just because they're part of the MAGA caucus, although all of that probably comes into play. But the reason Byron Donalds supported Kat Kamak for conference chair is, I believe, because Byron Donalds knows there's about to be an open Senate seat in Florida, because if and when Marco Rubio is plucked from the Senate to become the Secretary of State, there is a big gaping hole in the Senate from Florida. Rick Scott will remain because he just won another 6-year term. And then there's this hole that is filled by none other than Governor Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis gets to pick whomever he wants, and he gets to drop them in to the Senate seat that will be vacated should Marco Rubio become Secretary of State. And I have a feeling that Byron Donalds, who ran unsuccessfully, but got some votes, got some support in the House for Speaker of the House, was a contender for the vice presidency, and is just an all-around pretty solid dude. I think that Ron DeSantis is looking at Byron Donalds and going, it's a pretty solid choice for senator, or at least Byron Donalds is thinking, I'm going to do whatever I can to get that Senate seat and represent Florida in the Senate, because we're going to need, if you think Marco Rubio is a MAGA lieutenant for Donald Trump, Byron Donalds, forget about it. That guy's a sergeant major. Well, I don't know which is higher. I may have just actually, I wasn't in the middle, whatever. He's got a lot of bars on his uniform is all I'm saying. Now, The difference, there's a couple things that could stop that from happening. Number one is Ron DeSantis may not want somebody who's loyal to Donald Trump in the Senate. He may not want to elevate somebody that's do or die, MAGA for L or M for L, as we like to say. He may not want to do that, but I feel that Ron DeSantis, looking around the landscape, may do that. Now, there's other people that may want that job. For example, Matt Gaetz may want that job. He's also a Republican from Florida. We got a lot of them here. We got a ton of Republicans here in Florida, and all of them are MAGA. He may also want that job. I don't know. I did hear a rumor, and I'm going to put this one to bed right now. I don't think this is true. I heard a rumor / theory last night at poker where I didn't win, so please don't ask. I heard a rumor that because Marco Rubio, or when Marco Rubio becomes Secretary of State and there's a Senate opening, I heard a rumor that Ron DeSantis is going to step down as governor and then let the lieutenant governor select him to fill that empty Senate seat. I don't buy that at all. Ron DeSantis already stepped away from the governorship once to run for president, and people back home weren't happy. He's not going to do that. That's not going to happen. But, like I said, there's all kinds of theories floating around. So if we can get Senator Byron Donalds, if we can get Kat Cammack as conference chair, if we can get Rick Scott, okay. Speaking of powerful Republicans from Florida, Rick Scott has been mounting this campaign, this massive campaign. Rick Scott, he wants to be the Senate Majority Leader, and he has been mounting a campaign, and he has gotten some high-profile support. He's gotten high-profile support from the likes of Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk and Dan Bongino and this guy right here. In fact, the internet has just been just overwhelmed. Twitter, X, all of them. They've been just Rumble. Everyone has been talking about how great Rick Scott would be as majority leader because A, he's not a Mitch McConnell acolyte. B, he's a staunch supporter of Donald Trump. And C, we believe he will push forward Donald Trump's agenda faster than any of the other people. And there will be no guff. There will be no roadblocks. There will be no fighting it. It will be a rubber stamp. And that may be exactly what we need to make America great again as quickly as possible. Because we want to make America great again, but we don't want to take our time doing it. We want to we're in a rush to make, I don't know about you, but I'm in a rush. I want to make America great again fast. I want to MAGAF. Wait, that's MAGAF. What's another word for fast? Quickly? I want to MAG. No, I guess we'll go with fast. Fast, speedy. With haste. No. Quickly, we'll figure it out. But that's what he wants to do. And I think that that's why he would be a great choice. However, we, the people, don't get to choose. The senators get to choose. And get this, the senators, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine the audacity of these people. The senators, the Republican senators in the Senate right now are angry that their constituents are telling them how to vote in the Senate majority vote. Think about this. You want to talk about audacious people? These are some audacious people. Rick Scott said, I want to be majority leader because John Cornyn is old and a Mitch McConnell clone. And John Thune didn't even think Donald Trump should have run in 2016, told him he should step down and make way for Mike Pence to be the nominee. Is that the kind of guy we think is going to side with Donald Trump and work with Donald Trump to get this agenda through the Senate? I don't know, but a lot of people don't think so. Rick Scott is one of them. So Rick Scott says, I'm going to run. He's run before. Marco Rubio's on board with him. J.D. Vance is on board with him. Mike Lee's on board. He's got a lot of high-profile people on board with him, but he needs a majority, and he doesn't have that. And a lot of the other senators are angry. Rick Scott's MAGA momentum backfires in the Senate. This is from Axios. Senator Rick Scott may be the MAGA media darling, but some of his colleagues are bristling at the public pressure on their secret voting process to elect Mitch McConnell, Senate Republican leader successor on Wednesday. Why it matters. Senate GOP sources tell us Scott's weekend momentum, especially without an endorsement from President-elect Trump, is starting to backfire. Scott has his supporters, there's no question, but many senators wanted to avoid turning a secret ballot into a public spectacle and feel bullied by the online chatter. They actually use the word bullied. One senator told a reporter they felt bullied by the voters. You felt bullied by the people that put you in power? Your constituents, the people that elected you to office, who elected you to represent them, are calling you and saying, we would like you to vote for Rick Scott, and you feel bullied? This is not the kind of leadership that we need. We need representatives, people that are elected representatives to go to Congress and represent us. And if we want Rick Scott, then that's something you should probably deliver for us and not complain about feeling bullied. What we're hearing, it is, quote, definitely backfiring on him. At this point, I won't vote for him for anything ever, one Republican told Axios. I won't vote for him for anything ever because people want him to be the majority leader and you don't. This is Liz Cheney 2.0. This is Liz Cheney all over again. These Republicans have not learned their lesson. This is not a good sign going into the first few. It's not a good sign going into the last quarter of the year, right before the inauguration. This is not a good sign at all. You want Republicans who are on board with Donald Trump's agenda, who are on board with giving Donald Trump the tools he needs. He's got the Senate, he's got the House, he's got the Supreme Court. All he needs now is a staunch MAGA conservative who's going to quickly move his agenda through the Senate and the Congress. And you've got Republicans complaining that they're getting bullied by their constituents. Why? Because the phones are ringing? That's exactly why. Senate offices are dealing with a flood of trolling on social media from Scott allies while Scott campaigns for their votes. Okay. Trolling, by the way, as they write here in Axios, trolling on social media means people are writing and saying, hey, you need to vote for Rick Scott or I won't vote for you. That's not trolling. That's just making your voice be heard. If you can't handle that, you should probably get off of social media. I myself, I should probably find this. I myself, the other day, went on X and I made a list. And I made a list of every single senator in the caucus. And I said, these are all the people that are running. I'm sorry, these are all the people that are voting. These are all the people that will be voting on the majority leader. And if you, I'm going to pin it so you can go find it quickly if you'd like. And if you want to just retweet all of these people, then so be it. And let them know what you want. Let them know that you want Rick Scott. Because that's the only way that it's going to happen. That's the only way we are going to get the people that we need and that we want in positions of leadership. And the interesting thing about this is, this is really where it gets interesting to me. The interesting thing about this is that you have senators who are, here, let me pin it real quick. You have senators who are, complaining about representing what their constituents want. Here it is right here. On November 9th, here's a list of every Republican senator voting for majority leader next week. Retweet them and let them know you want Senator Rick Scott and not Moscow Mitch 2.0. Here you have all of them. Chuck Grassley, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Mike Crapo, John Kennedy, all these people. And it's gotten a bunch of 106 reads. So every time this gets retweeted, these senators get a message and they're saying this is trolling. They're saying that me accessing their public X accounts and sharing that with my audience and saying, hey guys, if you're in the United States of America, and you live in one of these states, if one of these people is your senator, then you need to retweet them and let them know you want Rick Scott rather. Tim Scott's on the list, by the way. Let them know that. And if every time somebody retweets them, they get a message and their Twitter gets filled up with all these people saying, we want Rick Scott, we want Rick Scott. And according to Axios, those people say that's trolling. It's bullying. I'm bullying all of these Republican senators by going on X and sharing their handles, which, by the way, are public. You could Google it. It's not like they're hiding. It's not like we're showing up at their offices and sitting in the vestibule like the pro-Palestinian supporters did. Wasn't that was bullying. That was trolling. That was dangerous. I'm sitting behind my keyboard and telling people, here's how you contact folks. Here's how you let them know what you want out of your elected officials. And they're complaining. I will never vote for Rick Scott for anything ever. What adult talks like that? What elected official? I want to know who that is. I would love to know who that is because I have some thoughts. I have some ideas, but I'm not going to say them because I can't. I can neither confirm nor deny. Anyway, those are two big races that we're following. House Conference Chair, good luck to Kat Kamak, and a Senate Majority Leader. Those both happen tomorrow. Good luck to our buddy, Rick Scott. Real quick, before we get into this next segment, I did want to share with you, there's a couple things that are going on that I'm very excited about. I did want to share with you, one thing is that I want to talk, coming up, I have a list of endorsements. And these are the endorsements that Kamala Harris paid for. Celebrity endorsements that Kamala Harris paid for. And the amount of money Kamala Harris paid for these endorsements is going to knock your socks off. However, before we do that, I'd like to endorse something of my own. And that is my good friend, Chuck Norris, TV star, movie star, American icon. He is recognized as the foremost action hero. And he is 84 years old. He is well into his 84th year. And Chuck Norris is still kicking it like, well, Chuck Norris. He goes to the gym every day. He kickboxes. He pounds the bag. He is so youthful. He's got so much energy. And it's all because he found one thing that he could do to his metabolism, one change that he made. And it gave him more energy. One thing in his diet, in his lifestyle, him and his wife, both of them, they're younger. They have more energy, more vitality. They're happier than they ever have been before. And Chuck Norris made this video. It's a 2-minute routine transformation that he shares with you. And if you'd like to watch it, just go to chuckdefense.com/MK. chuckdefense.com/MK. And I put a link to that video in the description of this video on YouTube and on Rumble. And if you click the link, you can watch it. It literally takes like 2 minutes. You watch the video, you can start to see how Chuck Norris, later in his life, transformed himself so that he could have more energy, so that he could have more vitality, so that he could feel younger. His wife, too, says she feels 10 years younger just by making this one switch. It's chuckdefense.com/MK. chuckdefense.com/MK. Go there today and watch that quick video. Or like I said, click on the link in the description of this video on YouTube and or on Rumble. All right. I want to talk a little bit about celebrity endorsements because, as you know, Kamala Harris had a lot of celebrity endorsements, big time celebrity endorsements. And a lot of people were like, how did Kamala Harris get all these people to endorse her? Well, she paid them. And if you are a campaign donor to the Kamala Harris campaign, first of all, I don't know, you're on the wrong channel. Second of all, I mean, we're glad that you're here, but you're probably on the wrong channel. Second of all, you gave your money to Kamala Harris, who then gave it to the likes of Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion and Lizzo and Eminem and Oprah Winfrey. That's where your money went. Your money went to Oprah Winfrey and Eminem and Megan Thee Stallion. Oprah Winfrey reportedly received $1 million from Kamala Harris. Oprah Winfrey received $1 million reportedly for her participation in Kamala Harris's campaign, whether it was being on stage with her, whether it was that little interview thing that they did. Eminem came on stage and rapped, and Barack Obama was there, and he supported Kamala Harris. He didn't do it out of the goodness of his heart. He did it for $1.8 million. $1.8 million. He's not Slim Shady anymore. He's Slim Pay Me. He's not Eminem. He's ATM. He got $1.8 million from the Kamala Harris campaign. Lizzo, $3 million for Lizzo. $3 million from Kamala Harris's campaign to pay for Lizzo to go and support her. Lizzo got she got like twice as much as Eminem because she charged by the pound. Sorry. Megan Thee Stallion got $5 million. And that seems like a lot of money. But if you break it down per twerk, it's only like 50 grand per twerk. So every time she shook her booty, that was 50 grand, but she shook it a lot. So it turned out to be $5 million. But the big winner in all of this was Beyonce, of course, Queen Bee, because Beyonce, get this, Beyonce came to that rally in Houston. She got all those people in the building. She came out, she endorsed Kamala Harris, and then she left. She did not even sing. She didn't sing. Beyonce shows up, talks, doesn't even do what she's famous for, and pockets a cool $10 million from Kamala Harris's campaign. $10 million for Beyonce. This is where the money went. It didn't go to figuring out how you were going to win the campaign. It didn't go to any actual organization or ground game. It went to paying big time celebrities to come and twerk and say stuff and curse and support you. And then Oprah Winfrey now, she got the least amount of money, but she's claiming she actually got zero. Oprah Winfrey, she was cornered by a TMZ reporter after this report came out about all these celebrities and all the money they were making. and a TMZ guy caught up with Oprah Winfrey, because that's what TMZ guys do. I don't care who you are. If you're anywhere, a TMZ reporter is going to find you, and they're going to corner you, and they're going to ask you about the $1 million you got from Kamala's campaign. And here's what Oprah said.
Hey, Oprah, good morning. How are you, darling? You looking very good. How do you think the election went?
Not talking about the election. Thank you very much.
Oh, is it true that they paid you $1 million for the endorsement for Kamala?
Not true.
Not true, okay.
I was paid nothing, ever.
What do you think about all the celebrities with their mass exodus?
I'm not talking about it.
Do you think Prince Harry's gonna lose his visa now that Trump's president? Thank you, Oprah.
Okay, so she said not true. All we got out of Oprah Winfrey was not true. How did you $1 million? You got $1 million for supporting Kamala? Not true, Oprah Winfrey says. The only problem with Oprah Winfrey saying that's not true is, it kind of is. We have, see, the thing is, whenever you make a donation or whenever a campaign, campaigns are all public record. So any expenditure they have to report. They have to make it public. There's a public campaign filing. And on this public campaign filing that people on the internet found, it says Harpo, which is Oprah's company. There's one amount, look at that, for $500,000. There's another amount for $500,000. Now, I'm not a math whiz. Math is not my thing, but I believe 500,000 plus 500,000, carry the one, is, that's $1 million. Payable to Harpo. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting, because we just heard Oprah Winfrey tell TMZ, not true.
Hey, Oprah, good morning. How are you, darling? You looking very good. How do you think the election went?
Not talking about the election. Thank you very much.
Oh, is it true that they paid you $1 million for the endorsement for Kamala?
Not true.
Not true. Okay. Not true. Oh my God, it's not true. Okay, well, that's weird, because look at this expenditure report. Harpo, 500,000, 500,000. So we investigated further. And by we, I mean, I went on Twitter and I found this. And here's what happened. There was a Harpo representative that said Harpo Productions acknowledged in a statement that the Harris campaign had covered the town hall's expenses. So they paid for the town hall. However, it stated that Oprah Winfrey was at no point during the campaign paid a personal fee, nor did she receive a personal fee from Harpo. Now, this is where it gets a little sticky for me, because Harpo is Oprah's company. We know that Oprah owns Harpo. She runs Harpo. It's actually, it's Oprah spelled backwards. It's literally, her name is right there on the company. So if Harpo gets $1 million in some way, shape, or form, I see that equating Oprah getting $1 million, and whether or not she got it or whatever, a company that she invests in or she owns or she began, I feel like, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. I feel like we're not necessarily being totally transparent when we're, it's semantics. No. Oprah did not get paid a dime, but Oprah backwards got $1 million. Oprah got nothing. But if you flip her name around, Harpo got $1 million. Oprah got nothing. Come on. Are we really that dumb? I'm not. I didn't vote for Kamala Harris, but that's what it took. Kamala Harris spent, let's tally it up real quick. You've got $1 million for Oprah, $1.8 million for Eminem. That's two. Let's round that up to $3 million. Then you've got another $3 million for Lizzo. That's $6 million. You got $5 million for Megan Thee Stallion. We're up to $11 million. And then $10 million for Beyonce. That's over $20 million for 5 endorsements that delivered her fewer counties than Joe Biden got in 2020. Joe Biden outperformed Kamala Harris, and he had no celebrity endorsements. No real celebrity endorsements. It just goes to, when you give your money to a campaign, when you donate to a campaign, you have to stop and think, what are they doing with that money? Are they using it to benefit themselves? Are they using it to benefit their friends? Because if you think about it, that's all it is. When you, again, and I do endorsements for products. I do endorsements for companies. I do endorsements for all that kind of thing. But there's a difference, because the money that I get paid whenever I do an endorsement is coming from the profit for a product or a service. That company is making money. They're selling products. They're selling services. They come to me. I look at the product. I look at the company. I go, all right, I'll do that. and I do an endorsement and they pay me. This money is coming from donors. These are donations that are coming into a campaign, and the people that are donating that money, hardworking Americans, expect that Kamala Harris is using that money to get herself elected so she can protect their rights to an abortion, and they can keep the border open, and there can be more abortions and all kinds, and the illegal immigrants can have gender reassignment surgery and abortions, and there's abortions for everybody, and there's never any problems with abortions. That's why they were giving their money to Kamala Harris, not so that Megan Thee Stallion could shake her booty in the air, or so Beyonce could walk into a stadium full of people expecting her to sing and not sing. That $10 million for Beyonce probably cost them more votes. Do you know how many angry people left that Houston rally going, yo, Beyonce didn't sing? Pfft, I'm not voting for Kamala. She scammed me. She scammed me out of my time. Beyonce scammed you out of your money to the tune of 10 mil. It really makes you rethink these campaigns. Donald Trump, incidentally, raised way less money than Kamala Harris, had no celebrity endorsements. I mean, didn't pay for him. He didn't pay for Hulk Hogan or Kid Rock. He didn't pay for Elon Musk. He didn't pay for John Rich or Lee Greenwood. Lee Greenwood did not make millions of dollars. And do you know how many rallies he showed up at to sing? I sat down with Lee Greenwood. We talked. He did it. I mean, let's be honest. He's making bank anytime somebody downloads God Bless the USA or streams it live. I get that. I get Lee Greenwood's different, though, because Lee Greenwood can go and perform God Bless the USA. He can do it at Trump rallies. He can do it at the RNC. He can do it at the inauguration, which I'm guessing he probably will. And every time he does, somebody's going on to Spotify, somebody's going on to iTunes, they're downloading it, they're streaming it, and what happens? The Mariah Carey effect. Lee Greenwood makes bank, but he's not taking checks from hardworking Americans who are donating their money to Donald Trump so that he can make America great again. There's a big difference. And that is why I believe that if you're going to give your money, give it to somebody who doesn't believe in high-profile endorsements and instead is their own endorsement. Donald Trump went to rally after rally after rally, and he was the star. He was the celebrity. He was the one telling you why you should vote for him. Nobody else. No, by the way, I would totally go to a Donald Trump rally for free. Or, I mean, there's not going to be any more. But if they wanted to throw me $1 million, I'd probably take that too. Hey, if you wanted to throw me a couple bucks, we're getting some Rumble rants today, which is very exciting. And I wanted to shout out some of our Rumble ranters because we don't unfortunately have the technology to share our Rumble rants on the screen, but we do have one from CA Smirk, a $2 Rumble rant with no message attached. Thank you very much. April A-Dig, I love the new format, Mark. No time for whistling. Yes, back when we had commercial breaks, there was whistling, which April was not a big fan of. Now she's throwing me $5 because I have not whistled. Thank you. And CA Smirk, a $2 Rumble rant. Love your energy. You're the greatest. No CA Smirk, you're the greatest. I really appreciate all of those. If you would like to send us a Rumble rant on Rumble, we appreciate it, and we will clip it and read it. If you'd like to send us a super chat on YouTube, I'll throw, you know what? We'll do some super chat spotlight today too. And the good news is that all that money goes directly into goes directly into keeping the show. We're not going to pay some high-profile celebrity. Any money you drop in the way of a Rumble rant or a super chat goes right back into the show to make this show a greater experience for you, the viewer and the listener. And every dollar is much appreciated. Before we get out of here, I got to share. This is one of my favorite stories of all time. Of all time. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite stories of all time. This story popped up. So tomorrow's a big day in Washington, D.C. We already told you that Donald Trump is set to go to the White House to meet with Joe Biden in what is one of the most pointless meetings of two presidents ever. Because Joe Biden is kind of not really in charge, and Donald Trump has already been president. He's just returning back. He doesn't need any guidance. He doesn't need a tour of the White House. He doesn't need an introduction to the staff. He doesn't need to know, where they hide the good scotch because A, he doesn't drink, and B, he already knows where they hide. He lived there. Donald Trump lived in the White House before Joe Biden did. Now they've got this weird, ceremonial meeting that they do every single time, except they didn't do it last time because Donald Trump didn't want Joe Biden anywhere near the White House because he didn't believe that he won the election. That's a whole other story. So now they're having this meeting. And in addition to the president's meeting, traditionally, the first ladies will also get together and have a meeting. But that's not happening this time. Why? Because nobody likes Jill Biden. Literally nobody. Nobody likes Jill Biden at all. Jill Biden is hated by everyone. She is she's like the most hated person in Washington, D.C., which is wild because there's so many people that are hated in Washington, D.C. Jill Biden has no friends. She has tons of enemies. She doesn't like anyone either. Like, let's make it fair. But Jill Biden has been snubbed by two high-profile women in the same week. First up, Melania Trump. Melania Trump was invited by Jill Biden to come to the White House when the husbands are meeting, the wives get together, the first ladies sit down and they have some tea and they spill the tea, and I don't know what they do, but I just imagine there's lots of tea. It just seems like the perfect time for tea. But Melania Trump has said, I'm not going to the White House to meet with Jill Biden. She said, no, thank you, Jill, although I don't think she was that polite about it. She snubbed the invitation. She said, I ain't going. And there's the official and there's the unofficial reason why she's not going. Now, the official reason why she's not going is because she says she has a conflict. She's got a book out, a bestseller. It's called Melania. And she has a book tour. She's got some events. Take your pick. Whatever the reason, for whatever reason, she's decided I've got better things to do. And I can't get out of my pre-planned meeting or my book tour, my book event, so I'm not going to go to the White House. But there's an unofficial reason why Melania Trump is not going. An anonymous source told CNN that Melania is set to skip the traditional First Lady meeting, adding the snub is due to an upcoming schedule conflict, blah, blah, blah. Another source gave a different reason for Melania's anticipated absence, alleging she still holds grievances over the FBI's raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Palm Beach, Florida, because FBI agents reportedly rifled through her wardrobe and clothes. Now, the story I heard, and I'm sure you heard, and as was widely reported, is that the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago while Joe Biden was president, and they rifled through Melania's underwear drawer. Her clothes, yes, but they went through her unmentionables. I don't know why they were looking for top secret documents in her unmentionables drawer, but she was not happy with it. She was not a fan, and she holds a grudge, and hell hath no fury like a Melania scorned. So when Jill Biden, wife of Joe Biden, invites her to the White House, she says, hell no, she ain't going, is the quote. In fact, I think I have it right here. She ain't going is the quote. Here it is. The unnamed source told the New York Post, Jill Biden's husband authorized the FBI to snoop through her underwear drawer. Now, Joe Biden, keep in mind, claims he did not give any authorization. This was the quote. But he was the president, and the FBI is under his jurisdiction. So whether he authorized it or not, he is linked to the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago simply by the position of power that he holds. Now, Melania Trump is holding him and her accountable for that. And the internet's all for it, man. She is getting applauded. She's getting bravos and kudos, and people are like, hey, oh, Melania, you go, girl. Don't go anywhere near that White House. Don't go anywhere near that B word and her husband. Because I think a lot of people also realize that Joe Biden relies on his wife, a lot more than most presidents have. But that's not the only, that's not the only snub. You know who else doesn't like Jill Biden? Is Kamala Harris. Or I think in this case, it's Kamala Harris it's Jill Biden who doesn't like Kamala Harris. Because you may remember, Kamala Harris took over for Joe Biden when Joe Biden was forced out by his own party, when Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and God knows who else came to the White House and told Joe, you better go or else we'll use the 25th Amendment. Or we heard there were salacious and embarrassing text messages. They were going to start disclosing secret conversations they'd had with Joe Biden, which would have been embarrassing and would have really put his mental capacity and his physical state to run the country in question, which, I mean, we already questioned it. I don't know what else they would have come up with. But Joe Biden got pushed out by his own party. Jill Biden was furious, still is, because she likes being first lady. She wanted to be first lady for the next 4 years. She doesn't care that the border's wide open or that we're on the brink of World War III. That doesn't affect her. She lives in the White House with round-the-clock Secret Service protection. She'll be fine. No illegal immigrant is going to take over her house or her apartment complex. They're not going to eat her dog or cat. None of that's going to happen. So Jill Biden, she wants to kick it in the West Wing. a little while longer. I'm sorry, the Democrats put that plan to rest. So yesterday at Arlington National Cemetery, I think it was the National Cemetery. I forget where it was. Anyway, the Kamala Harris was walking through. She was shaking everyone's hand. She was saying hello to everybody, and she walked right by, or really turned and ran the other way from Jill Biden. Here she is coming out onto the balcony, and there she is with the second weirdo, Doug Emhoff, and she's shaking Anthony Blinken's hand, and she just bypassed. You could see Jill Biden was right there. Look, she literally shakes hands around Jill Biden, doesn't shake Jill Biden's hand. Jill Biden does not acknowledge her or give her the time of day, looks straight ahead, and the vice president and the second weirdo take their seats right next to Jill Biden, who makes no notice or no effort to even register that she's there. This is a party that is totally on the brink. Nobody likes Jill Biden. Jill Biden doesn't like anyone else. This is a catfight of monumental proportions. This first lady feud and the Kamala Jill rift is going to be, I mean, it's like the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C. a little bit. But I think everybody realizes that in the long haul, we are all Team Melania. In fact, I believe that I think the big winner in this whole race is Donald Trump and the American people, of course, but also Melania Trump, because she was so poorly treated the first time around. She was so disrespected by the media. All the fashion magazines, you have an actual fashion model as the first lady, and every fashion magazine that typically puts the first lady on the cover dissed her. They made fun of her Christmas decorations. They made fun of her wardrobe. They made fun of her accent. They went into the archives and found photos of her when she was a young up-and-coming model with, scantily clad, if not clad at all. And they tried to embarrass her. And back then she had a young son. Barron was young. He was in middle school and high school. Now he's in college. Now he's a grown man. And I think this is going to be not just Donald Trump's second term. I think this is going to be Melania Trump's second term. I think this is going to be Melania's new golden age. And if you think she was a good first lady the first time around, I think she's going to be an outstanding first lady the second time around. And I think finally, the rest of the world is going to know it as well. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for all this. Listen, there's one more thing I'm really excited for, and I want to share it with you because last night I was playing poker. No, I didn't win. Don't ask. But it got me jazzed for our Ho Ho Hold'em, a charity poker tournament, which we do every single year. Our Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, which has grown every single year over year. I think we're in our 9th year now. And look, a lot of people say, I'd love to come to your tournament, but I don't play poker. You don't have to play poker. This is not a bunch of poker players. This is a bunch of suburban soccer moms, and this is a bunch of, professional men and women who just are trying to blow off some steam for a good cause. Our K's Kids charity. And K's Kids we're in our 10th year. We're in our 10th year of buying dream gifts and iPads and medical necessary medical equipment and dream vacations and shopping sprees for kids who are suffering from life-threatening illnesses, many of them battling diseases that could very well end their lives. And unfortunately, over the 10 years that we've been doing it, we've been able to buy dream gifts for a lot of kids who are no longer with us. And that's the downside of working with these kinds of children. The upside is, that you truly can make one of their dreams come true. And we've partnered with a great organization called, incidentally, Dreams Come True, and they're just a miraculous partner. But back to the poker tournament. What we've been able to create at this poker tournament is a fantastic party-like environment where you can come out. There's a free bar. There's free drinks included. There's free food. You get entry into the tournament. All this fantastic stuff. And also, there's a grand prize of $1,000 cash and the Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament trophy. And what we've done is every year we've added to it. We've grown it. Best Bet, by the way, is the poker room here in Jacksonville, Florida. And they are the most amazing place. They're the top poker room in the state of Florida, if not the entire Southeast. And I'm just going to show you, this was from the video I'm about to show you is from our first year, and now we're on our 9th. So you can only imagine how great. Look, K's Kids, a special times program of Dreams Come True, presents the Ho Ho Hold'em Charity Poker Tournament. Look at that. It's all decorated. It's all festive. It puts you in the Christmas spirit. There's all the money that you could win. That's the cold hard cash and the trophy. There I am, a much younger me. But there's the look, open bar. We're having some drinks. We're celebrating with our friends. We're playing some poker. And again, there's no pros allowed. These are all just regular folk enjoying some sushi. People dressing, costumes. Over the years, by the way, the costumes and the outfits have gotten more and more festive and more Christmassy. That's Jesse. He runs the joint, Professional Dealers. And there's a live stream table. There's an actual live stream table like they have when you watch TV, where you can see all the players. You can hear what we're saying. You can see our cards because they have the little digital readout. And I sit there at the live stream table every year, and I have a couple seats, the VIK table, I call it. And there's VIK seats where you can actually come and you can sit and play with me. Look at how excited. Oh, that's Julie Urso. She was so excited. She won a big hand. We give away beer. We give away wine. We give away all kinds of great stuff. And the best thing is, not only do we give stuff away, not only can you win $1,000 cash and a trophy, not only can you win beer and wine and a ton of other great prizes. Not only that, but you get to help out our K's Kids charity. Last year, we were able to raise $43,000, and that paid for so many dream vacations for kids, again, suffering from life-threatening illnesses, dealt a horrible hand by life, and they're fighting through it, and they're so amazing, these children. We're gonna showcase them. In December, if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to the program, in December, we do something called the 12 Days of Christmas. And you get to see where your money goes. What we do is we have 12 dreamers, they're called, 12 K's Kids. And we bring them we've set up an impromptu Santa's workshop, and we're going to bring them in. And each one of these kids doesn't know it. They think they're coming in for a podcast interview, but what they're really coming in for is to get a dream Christmas present, something we know they want, their family hasn't been able to afford, and something that we know is going to put a smile on their face in the midst of chemotherapy treatments, radiation treatments, surgeries, whatever it is, having to stay out of school and be away from their friends. And we're going to share all 12 of these amazing experiences with you. And we want to share this poker tournament with you too. So if you would like to attend, there's two places you can go. You can go to kskids.com. Go to www.kskids.com. Make sure you put in the www, and that'll take you to our Ho Ho Hold'em Charity Poker Tournament registration page. It's Thursday, December the 5th this year. And you can go and you can get a ticket. You can sit at the VIK table with me. Oh, there's only 5 seats remaining. Quick, if you want to sit at the live stream table and be part of the live stream, we're going to be live all over the world. We're going to be on Rumble. We're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be everywhere. If you want to be part of that, then you can sit at the table with me, sit right alongside with me, take all my money. I don't care. There's only 5 of those tickets remaining. You can get a single ticket at any of the other tables. You can get a full table for you, your friends, your company, your church group, whatever it is. And if you buy a full table, you get 2 tickets free. It's amazing. And if you want to be a spectator, we limit the number of spectators because, there's limited space and we don't want people just milling around and taking up space. But we do have 20 total. We've already sold 6 of those. So there's 14 spectator tickets remaining. Those are also good. Like, for example, if you want to play poker, but your girlfriend doesn't want to play poker, or if you want to play poker, but your boyfriend doesn't want to play poker, or if you want to bring somebody, just to hold your stuff, and they don't want to play poker, you can get them a spectator ticket. They get food, they get drinks. There's other games that they can play while they're waiting. They can watch all the fun, and you can invest and enjoy the tournament. So go to K's Kids, KAYESKIDS.com, or I've put a link, again, in the description of this video on YouTube and Rumble. So make sure you go to YouTube, Rumble, click on that link. These tickets are going to go fast. And as we get closer and closer to December 5th, these tickets are going to be gone. We have a hotel special, which we're arranging if you're coming from out of town. And we just want you to know this is the ultimate event that we do every year. If you came to our election night party, if you came to our Margaritaville Mastermind, if you came to any of those events, they're great. This one tops them all. And it puts you in the great Christmas spirit, and you're helping out a fantastic cause. Listen, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like and set notifications. Don't forget to let all these social media applications and networks and things know I like Mark K Saves the Republic. I want more Mark K Saves the Republic because he gives me information that I need, that I know, that I can trust. He gives me the truth. I like Mark K Saves the Republic because Mark K is entertaining and informative, and he's inspiring. I want to see this every single day. If he posts a video, I want to know about it. So subscribe, set the notifications, and make time. noon Eastern, 11 Central, because like I said, we're putting the cabinet together. We're making sure that we're getting all these rhinos out of the Senate. We've got to keep our eye not just on our enemies, but on our friends to make sure that everybody is working forward on fulfilling the promise that Donald Trump made. Donald Trump made a promise to the United States of America. The rest of us stepped up and said, yes, we want you to fulfill that promise to us. And not only that, we will give you the White House. We will give you the Senate. We will give you the House of Representatives. We will give you all of that. And you just deliver on everything that you promised. The only way we can do that is if we also keep checks and balances on our elected officials. So that's why we're here, to tell you what's up, to tell you what's going on, to tell you what we need to continue to do each and every day to save the republic.